You know, we're always told that humans are naturally hopeful. But have you ever noticed that the moment life gets really good, a different feeling starts to creep in, a kind of dread, a sense of waiting? Well, today we're going to dig into why your brain isn't just wired for optimism, but also has a really powerful and often painful insurance policy against disappointment, the pessimism bias.
Just let that sink in for a second. This single, provocative idea is right at the heart of everything we're exploring. It's a paradox that drives so much of our anxiety. We're going to unpack why your mind can sometimes value the cold comfort of being right about a disaster over the warm vulnerability of actually being happy. And this isn't some kind of personal flaw, okay? This is a deep, deep biological feature. So here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with that miserable and right paradox, and then get into the biological safety trap that keeps us stuck. Then, we'll map out the four-step loop that reinforces this kind of thinking and explore the ancient psychology behind it. And most importantly, we'll get to some practical tools for reclaiming the present and wrap up with a new way to think about courage and vulnerability. All right, let's dive right into that core concept. This tendency we have to catastrophize, it's not a personal failing. I want you to think of it like this. It's a sophisticated, if maybe a little outdated biological insurance policy. Your brain is just trying to protect you. The problem? The premium it charges for this policy is your happiness, right here in the present moment. Yeah, that feeling? That's the classic signature of this bias. You get the promotion, you start a great new relationship, things are finally stable, and instead of pure joy, there's this quiet hum of anxiety in the background, a little voice that whispers, "This is too good to be true." You find yourself scanning the horizon for a storm. It's an incredibly common experience, and it actually has a name. So let's just reframe this for a second. It's not just negative thinking, it's a cognitive strategy. Your brain is actively using worst-case scenarios as a tool. It truly believes that by anticipating every possible failure, it can soften the blow of disappointment if and when it comes. It's like you're holding up a shield. But, as we're going to find out, living behind that shield 24/7, well, it comes at a huge price. Okay, so why does our brain even do this? The answer is buried deep in our biological wiring, which puts us in what you could call the safety trap. It's this state of constant, low-grade alert, and it's all driven by a fundamental fear of being caught off guard. This right here, this is the engine driving the whole thing. It's a well-documented phenomenon called loss aversion. So finding $20 on the street feels good, but losing $20 from your wallet, that feels about twice as bad. See, your brain isn't some balanced accountant. It weighs losses way more heavily than gains, so its primary directive becomes avoiding the intense pain of a surprise loss, no matter what. And this chart just lays it out so perfectly, doesn't it? Look at that. The emotional impact of a loss is literally double that of an equivalent gain. Once you get this 2-to-1 ratio, the brain's whole strategy of defensive pessimism suddenly makes a ton of sense. It's willing to sacrifice the feeling of a +1 gain just to avoid the devastating feeling of a -2 loss. But carrying that shield of dread around is absolutely exhausting. It puts you in this state of hypervigilance, where you're constantly scanning good news for the hidden catch. It completely robs you of your ability to enjoy the present. And on a biological level, it creates what's called a high limbic load. Basically, your nervous system is always on. Your fight or flight response is always simmering, just burning through energy as you wait for a threat that might never even arrive. Okay, let's look at how this all builds on itself. This isn't just some random feeling. It's a systematic, predictable, self-reinforcing cycle. And understanding this four-step loop is the absolute key to breaking free, because it lets you see the machine while it's running. So here's how it goes down. Step 1, something good happens, which causes a vulnerability spike. Your brain thinks, great, now there's more to lose. Step 2, it launches a catastrophic simulation, running through all the ways this could possibly go wrong. Step 3, you start doing what's called mood dampening, telling yourself things like, this won't last, to lower the emotional stakes. And finally, step 4, the moment anything goes even slightly wrong, your brain gets the I knew it reward. And here's the kicker, the really crucial part, that so-called reward, your brain doesn't get a hit of pleasure, not really. It gets what we call a consistency hit. It's this little jolt for being right, for having its worldview confirmed. This false sense of control is bizarrely addictive, and it reinforces the entire loop, making you way more likely to run the same program next time. You've won by being right, but you've lost by being miserable. So, why? Why is our brain built to choose being right over being happy? Well, to understand that, we have to look at its most fundamental job. It is first and foremost an uncertainty reduction machine. This right here is the whole key.
To your brain, uncertainty feels dangerous. Bad news, on the other hand, while it's painful, is at least a known variable you can act on. So pessimism, in a weird way, offers this illusion of control. It replaces the terrifying what if with the grim certainty of it will probably be bad. It settles the question, and that provides a strange kind of relief. This perfectly illustrates the conflict we're all in. It's like we're all walking around with this ancient software running on brand new hardware. Our brain's operating system was designed for one thing: objective survival. The pessimist who assumed that Russell in the bushes was a predator, they survived. The optimist, well, they only had to be wrong once. The goal was simply survival. But our modern goal is totally different. We're seeking subjective well-being, the ability to enjoy the sunset. Our brain's survival instinct is now getting in the way of our thriving instinct.
This is something called negative salience. Your brain is programmed to make threats pop, to make them stand out. And in our modern world, with fewer actual physical predators, it has recategorized emotional threats, like disappointment or failure, as existential dangers. So it reacts to, say, a project failing at work with the exact same ancient alarm bells it once used for a tiger in the grass. Okay, so we get the paradox, we get the biology, we get the psychology. Now for the big question: what can we actually do about it? This section is all about application, about actively retraining your brain. You can think of it as vulnerability training.
The master skill here, the real game changer, is what's called probabilistic thinking. You see, defensive pessimism is absolutist. It focuses only on the worst possible outcome, as if it's a certainty. The antidote is to teach your brain to see a whole spectrum of possibilities, not just the most catastrophic one. And here are two super simple but really powerful exercises you can start using. First, the 3 alternatives rule. When your brain serves up a worst-case scenario, you consciously name 3 other possibilities. They can even be neutral or boring ones. The goal is just to break the fixation. Second, scheduled best-case scenarios. Spend just 2 minutes a day, that's it, actively visualizing things going perfectly. You are literally building new neural pathways for positive forecasting.
And this is a really powerful question to ask yourself when you're in that moment. I want you to conduct a cost audit. What is the real premium you are paying right now in stress, in anxiety, in lost joy for this so-called insurance policy against some future pain? Often, you'll realize the cost of the insurance is far, far higher than the potential loss you're trying to avoid. And finally, because this is a deep biological response, we need a tool that speaks to the body. When you feel that anxiety rising, that's your amygdala, your brain's alarm system going off. You can calm it with somatic grounding. Just feel your feet on the floor, the chair supporting you, take a breath, and then you can literally tell that ancient part of your brain, we are safe right now. You're literally anchoring it in the reality of the present, not the imagined future. All right, this brings us to our final and honestly, maybe the most profound insight of all. It's a fundamental shift in how we can relate not just to our pessimism, but to happiness itself.
I really want you to let this reframe sink in for a minute. Your pessimistic thoughts are not prophecies. They're not accurate predictions of the future. They are a defense mechanism, a shield. What this means is, your brain isn't actually trying to predict the future, it's trying to protect you from the incredibly vulnerable feeling of being happy in the present.
And really, that's the choice we all have to make. You can live in a state of self-imposed darkness just to feel prepared for a potential storm. Or you can choose to step out, to be vulnerable enough to enjoy the sun, and to have the courage to be surprised. Because the cost of avoiding disappointment should never be the joy of living itself. Thanks for digging into this with us.